All right, guys, welcome to Swimming with the Pontoon number 43, the first one of 2024. I do have somebody coming in right around 6 o'clock. He should be here. Could be the new co host for Tactical Pontoon. It's a guy that I have worked with pretty much since Tactical Pontoon became a thing. So he's been on the channel before, and once he gets in, I'll bring him in the stream. But I thought I'd get started just a few minutes early, make sure we don't have any technical issues because that always seems to be a problem here and there, and I wanted to get that out of the way. So if you can hear me, please let me know. If you can't hear me, also let me know as well. All right. Watching from North Carolina, Brandon Price. All right, man. Unless it's North Carolina. I was trying to think if there was another NC non-confined spaces. Okay. Stuart, Nordic Nevadan says he can hear us. So we're good. We are good. Nordic Nevadan, the man who does the Tactical Pontoon t-shirts. And also, I see he seems to be doing Matt from PSA's t-shirts. I need to order the variant of those. So I'll get with you here later, Stuart, and I'll get those ordered because why not? You got to support him. He spends a lot of time on the PSA. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad to have you here, Thomas. It has been a while. It's been a while that I've been regular on these streams, so that's more, that's my fault. I kind of took a break in December after the whole Grit Grips frame fiasco where they killed the stream midway through, kind of threw a wrench in it. I needed a little bit of a break, but we're back for 2024. I'll get, like I said, that's why I am bringing in more guests, a possible co-host. We'll see, and we'll just keep things rolling. Videos, we'll see how those go. I'm gonna see. It's been busy. December was a crazy month. The start of the month, UPS did their thing, lost a package. I've been scrambling ever since. Excuse me. Scrambling ever since to catch back up, and just keep things flowing. Still a little bit behind on Generation 5 triggers, but that should come to a close next week. I'll get my fresh supply of Generation 5 trigger shoes, and from the Gunco, I ran them out, but yeah, it has been crazy. So that leaves me less time to do the top-down videos that I've been wanting to do for a while, amongst just kind of being a little bit burnt out on it. But like I said, it's 2024. We're gonna put some steam back in this old locomotive, or some water under the pontoon. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but I was trying. What else do we have going on? So beginning of 2024, the last stream that we had at the end, I forgot to mention that old Gaston Glock passed away. I meant to mention it. I still see it floating around social media. People are still just finding out about it. Wow. Some days I actually forgot that he was still around. But talk about a man who changed the industry. Glock, before the Glock 17 came around, basically did shower curtain rings, just basic polymer stuff. It wasn't until they jumped in for the Germans, the German request, or was the Austrian? I think it was German Army request. Hey everyone, well thank you. I truly try. I know we ran into some issues getting your order to go through, but I'm glad I'm glad we made that happen, and I got that guy shipped your way. Was the Austrian army? I can't remember. This goes to show how I know some things. Anyways, and it looks like, oh, well, we're gonna. Hopefully, it looks like we had a little computer issue with my possible co-host. He's still working on it. He's still working on it. But yeah, polymer. I mean, it wasn't a gun company before the Glock 17. They made polymer plastic, polymer items, and the Glock 17 was not the first polymer gun. A lot of people thought it was, but H&K had done one beforehand with the what was that? The VP70, famous for Resident Evil 2. One of my favorite guns on that. That was a lot of fun, of course. And then later on, I realized how terrible the trigger was. I'd still love to have one just to have it, but yeah, that's a continued tradition of H&K staple gun triggers. But we, sorry, I got kind of thinking about several different things, making sure our co-host gets on. Yeah, Glock passed away. I think he was 80 something years old. This was a couple weeks ago when I really paid attention to it, and I should have brought it up at the last stream, but I didn't. Anyways, may he rest in peace. He truly changed the industry. Gave me a a reason to not punch a normal clock. That's to say that I don't punch a clock because it's almost a 24/7 thing. I mean, it is a rarity that I'm not in the shop 7 days a week, at least for an hour or two on the weekends. Today I finished up a Leonidas system. Man, it just came out so great. A Leonidas system, put together some micro dagger kits, just some basic stuff, cleaning up a couple little small things. But I did. I spent about 3 or 4 hours in here before the stream, and then I went out into the other shop, drove the Challenger, got battery was dead. It's been too long since I've drove it, so the battery was dead. Had to jump boost box, put the boost box on it, give it a little charge, drove it. I do miss driving that thing. It's actually got some cobwebs on the dash to the windscreen. I really need to drive that thing more. But yeah, 7 days a week. No punching a clock because it is 24/7. And I know I mentioned just a little earlier about Matt PSA and Stuart Nordic Nevada doing his t-shirts. That's a guy who, even though he works for PSA, he spends time on there like an owner. It's crazy how much time he spends on social media answering people's questions and just putting little things to bed. You get manufacturing issues where a spring might pop out or whatnot. Steven, I have your email. I haven't responded to, and I need to ship your t-shirt out with the trigger shoe. I apologize for not getting your email back to you, or getting your package out to you and responding. I was taking care of customers. I will admit that. So I kind of put you on the back burner. Not because you're not important. It just kind of happens. Gotta love the exhaust on a good muscle car. As I was coming in out of town, back to the house, a cop, of course, was on the little back road, and he spun around and came up behind me for no good reason. I mean, it was 25 through there. I was doing 25, 27. He got up behind me for about a mile or so, and I thought, why is he gonna pull me over? I thought maybe it was because of my the exhaust is loud. There's no cats on it, long tube headers. And I may have been going just a little fast before I saw him. but I thought maybe he'd find a reason to pull me over. I don't have a current inspection sticker. I don't have an inspection sticker. Always found those to be relatively a joke. My cars are together. They don't need inspected by you guys who don't even know what you're doing half the time for your $15. So I figured he'd probably pull me over. He didn't pull me over. He turned after about a mile of following me because I was being boring. But yeah, I drove the Challenger. That was fun. Went out into the shop for a little bit before the stream. Got to replace fuel pump ahead of time. It's not bad, but replacing the fuel pump in the new SRT4 that I'm putting back together, refurbishing. What was my first car? My first car that I had on the road was a 1976 GMC heavy half-ton pickup truck. When I say heavy half-ton, it was basically a 3/4 ton. It was a camper special, had the full floating 14-bolt rear end underneath of it. That lasted me. I spent all summer putting that back together. I think my dad bought it for $50. Yeah, he was looking for an excuse. But like I said, he didn't pull me over. If he had noticed maybe that I didn't have an inspection sticker, he could have pulled me over. But like I said, 1976 GMC camper special. I spent all summer before I got my driver's license putting an engine into it. My dad bought it with a blown engine. So I put a new engine into it, and 2 weeks after getting it all back together, excuse me, I got a little burp going on here. I blew the transmission up racing my brother in his little Dodge Neon. And then I bought my first Dodge Neon, which became a bit of a pattern for multiple different years. I've had 14 or 15 of them over the years. So yes, the SRT4s. I remember when they were on the showroom floor 20 years ago now. And I always wanted an SRT4. However, at that time, I definitely was not mature enough, still probably not mature enough to own one. I would have more than likely killed myself. At the time, I did end up buying a 2005 Dodge Neon 5-speed and just beat the hell out of that car. Then it got repoed because I really wasn't making enough money to purchase it back then as I was working at the auto parts store and just not good with my money. So Neons have been a thing. I have one SRT4 and one SRT4 swapped Neon in the shop. Then I got the Challenger. Yeah. So anyways, cars aside, I could talk cars for hours. I do have the other channel. I do have always had FP issues on the new Neons when they came out. FP, fuel pump? I know the initial ones, the 94 and 95, had some head gasket issues that really gave them a black eye for the first couple of years. And then they swapped to a composite head gasket. Once they went to a multi-layer head gasket design, all the head gasket stuff was pretty much out of the equation. They trust me, you could put some boost through that head gasket and it would not blow. I've been there. So, but yeah, FP. If it's fuel pump, I've not really had fuel pump issues. I've only upgraded fuel pumps, never really had one go out on me. Oh, maybe we might have somebody. Okay, it looks like our number 2 is in the house. Yeah. So I'm gonna bring him in. Brandon.
What's up? Wow, your camera looks so much better than mine. I need to get some new stuff.
Well, I've been doing this a while, just a little bit, and I'm kind of a nerd with it. I've spent way too much on camera stuff. I'm not even gonna lie, way too much for what I do. I mean, seriously, for what I do, I could easily just run it off my laptop.
Yeah. So, and even my primary laptop, which I've used before for these kinds of things, and it just decided the hard drive was just going to say peace out about 5 minutes ago. So I had to grab my daughter's computer for today, but I'm going to fix it.
I've been down that road. I ended up getting extra laptops just for tax write-offs, and also I need them for like the laser, just general tuning this out here in the shop, running the website. So it's always good to have an extra.
Oh
because
yeah.
they always seem to break. There's always something that happens to them.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know you, who are you, Brandon?
Oh. So my name is Brandon Haas. My wife and I own Disruptive Defense. We started that company back in, well, it was precursor to that. We did Applied Arsenal Finishes, founded that in 2015. And, we did custom Cerakote work for a number of years, full-time brick and mortar location. And then in 2017, started releasing parts under the Applied Arsenal Finishes name. And then that really took off. So we decided to transition over to Disruptive Defense. And now we make parts and accessories for currently the Canic lineup. That's where we've kind of started, but that'll expand into a number of different things over the course of the next year or so.
Actually, what you need to say is you make the best parts and accessories for the Canic lineup.
That's true.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that we brought that full circle because it is the truth. I've seen what else is out there, and you guys, you got them beat.
Appreciate it.
And I know last year, can you believe it's been a year?
It's ridiculous. I just can't believe how fast everything's moving.
I mean, 2023 was a roller coaster. I know for you it was just up. I mean, you peaks and valleys and compared to myself, which it was crazy. You're a champion.
Appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a year. The whole growth of everything and the way that it works is just interesting.
What are you most excited about in 2024?
2024, expansion. We have a lot going on. We're getting ready to launch export stuff for DisDef, so that's exciting. We're going into 83 countries, so that's exciting. And then also the expansion of our product lineup. That's exciting. We're moving to Glock and HK, some of the bigger boys. They're going to get to see what we do, which I'm excited about. And then also the relaunch of our we purchased a company, long gun company, a little more than a year ago, and we've been so busy with DisDef and everything, and just getting our feet underneath us there. It was a huge undertaking, and we'll be relaunching that here pretty soon too.
The Glock compensators. That is, I bugged you about it last year. Of course, it was you've had a hell of a year just keeping up production for the Canic, because as soon as you get them in stock, it seems like you run, they buy them out. So I foresee Glock being the same. It's going to be the same thing, especially with the type of design aesthetic that you guys go with. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We've already been in testing for the for Glock, HK, and CZ, and so we've been working on those designs and tuning them up, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, when you say CZ, are you talking like they're metal guns or they're polymer?
So the first round of parts from us will be polymer based. So striker fired P10, P10C, P10S, P10F, any future models, stuff like that.
Yeah. I occasionally, it's not very often, I would say, this sounds crazy, but twice a year out of the thousands of questions that I get are on P10 triggers. And it's so sad to me that the market for those is so small when it comes to, and granted the trigger on it is nice, but even like the HK VP9, I might do 2 or 3 of those a month, which in comparison to Glock is nothing. It's such a small market that for such a nice gun. I mean, like the P10, I really expected it to do, 10 times what it's done. It's such a flat shooting gun.
Yeah. I mean, so last year for Black Friday, 2022, not 2023, but they were selling that. I think it was on sale for like $229 or something like that on Palmetto State. I couldn't believe it. I can't imagine a gun being better than that at that price point, regardless. I mean, the P10C, I have a few of them. I love them. The VP9, it's the bastard child of the HK, but it is a fantastic pistol.
Yeah. And that's where, when I get what people ask me, and I know they ask you as well, I think, what is it? Freedom Smith is like the only legitimate trigger out there. I know there's the 3D printed carbon fiber infused crap that El Jefe or whatever. People want to change the triggers out just even for the aesthetic purposes. Tell me, because we've talked behind the scenes. Tell me about Canic trigger shoes. Just a little snippet.
So yeah, we've been working on our Canic trigger shoes for a little while. Everybody knows the Canic trigger is fantastic right out of the box. That's usually how people find out about Canic, is somebody told them the trigger was amazing, right? And so then they kind of go to their range, they try it out, whatever. And if somebody brings it home, it's typically because of the trigger. However, it can be done better. Mass production and all of that just leaves some to be desired. I know that they've done, Canic has listened to the customer base more so than most manufacturers when it comes to adding a 90-degree shoe, a flat trigger shoe, taking away some of that pre-travel just from the factory change that they made. But there's only so much you can do given the range of tolerances. So we've been testing, as you know, of course. And so that leaves the door wide open for us. And so we have the ability to focus on the minutia, the little details.
That last 10 or 15% per se.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for someone to take that, especially Canic, I mean, it's kind of making its way into the mainstream currently, especially on the competition side of things. And so when people, they get into it, they say, all right, I'm going to do competition. They go out and they buy an SFX or whatever, and then they grow in that sport. And instead of having to go out and sell it and go buy a different pistol and start all over, they can choose to make little adjustments here and there to get more out of their pistol, more out of their performance.
Yeah.
So that's what leads us to the idea of, all right, there's definitely something to be desired. Freedom Smith has been the only person kind of in that game for a long time, and they do that quite a bit. I don't know anything about them personally. I've never used one of their triggers, but they're out there. They service a bunch of the underserved pistols platforms. Taurus is one of them. I don't. They make some Kel-Tec stuff, I think, as well.
Do they?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's funny, when I think of Freedom Smith, I only think of Canic. I don't think I've ever actually been to their website, so I didn't realize they did other things.
I did one before. I did check. They do some. They do some Well, they originally did some Springfield XD stuff. And like I said, the Taurus, they sell like one. They started selling ones for the G2 and then the G3 now. So some of those pistols where you really can't get other parts from them. My only problem, and I've been pretty vocal about this, I don't know anything about their performance because, like I said, I've never had one. But I think I just think they take the same trigger and they mass manufacture it for all their different pistols. And that's cool. If you're into that sort of thing, that's fine. I just think that there is a happy medium between making a fantastic trigger first, performance wise, and then turning it into a piece of art where aesthetically it looks right. It's an embodiment of the shooter that's shooting it. I've always been a big proponent of let's make it right first, then let's worry about how good it looks, and then we worry about making it fast. Like we worry about producing it at a high volume.
Yeah. Well, and that's like you said, you know, for me, when I look at the Freedom Smith trigger, it's ugly. There's just something unfinished about it. That I know when you bring something online, there's going to be a design aesthetic to you, whatever performance there is, benefit, it's gonna look better. Because man, every time I see one, it just looks like a toy or like somebody threw a Lego in the frame. It's just an ugly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Yugos out there in general when it comes to gun parts, and they function, you know, and they do an okay job. They're not great at anything in particular. Not Freedom Smith. I'm just talking about using the analogy for cars, but
Overwatch, if you're listening, we're not talking about you guys. Do not send me another cease and desist. I ran into him again. Oh my goodness. I was like, oh crap. So I deleted my stuff. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna send me another cease and desist. Which could probably happen. Could happen.
For me, as a manufacturer of parts, I think that the public should know that there are people out there who don't like our stuff too. They don't like other people's stuff. It's okay. If you don't like our stuff, one, reach out. Tell me why you don't like it. I'll figure it out. If you don't, if there's something that most people, they say if they don't like it, it's because of a personal preference, and that's okay. You know, we're not marketing for everybody. I try to make the coolest stuff that I can make, you know, that I can think of in my imagination. I try to make it unique, try to make it original. I don't backpack or take anybody else's ideas. I try and do everything organically, and that takes time too. Trying to figure out how to balance all that is not easy as well.
I completely agree. Even, you know, not as a designer myself, just as somebody who tunes the parts behind the scene, like there's a lot that goes into it that, you know, I don't want to be I don't want to backpack off somebody else. And if somebody doesn't like what I do, and I have plenty of those type of people that I've gained good followings on, you know, I do what not only I enjoy, but what my customers like, and what works for me. And you know, there's gonna be people that don't like that. I know this latest time, like, you know, bringing that Overwatch thing up again. I want to talk about it real quick. Somebody asked about MP3. You know, what's the other name for that coating? MP3, the Teflon based coating.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like an MP3, like an audio file.
No. In MP3, the whatever that nickel Teflon coating.
Nickel boron?
No, not nickel boron. It's a nickel Teflon. It's a MP3. I'm trying to think what the name is. There's another name for it. But somebody asked if that was a worthwhile addition on a trigger bar. The only people that offer that are Overwatch. For whatever reason. And I said it's probably the benefit would be your wallet's lighter. You know, I know there are some bolt carriers for AR-15s that run that, and the thing is, it works for a while, but it's eventually going to wear off. And I've always found that Stuart, yes, I see. I've got your trigger. It will ship out. It's actually going to ship out Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm not going to get anything shipped out. Crap going on. But your copper trigger. it wears off. If on just about anything aside from like super high tolerance stuff that's going to get replaced, that that nickel Teflon is it's going to wear off. Just throw some grease, some grease or some lubrication on there. You're going to get most of the benefit, like literally all the benefit. So,
Yep.
yeah. Steven there says all the coatings are dumb. Stone and polish is the best. I completely agree. And then, of course, lubrication because metal on metal.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking on that, I want to jump in there on metal on metal. I've heard a couple things on I've seen on social media that there are a couple of those micro daggers out there that are having a couple trigger issues, and what I can tell just from my experience, if any of you guys have run into that, most likely it's a lubrication issue from either the factory, maybe when they did their test firing, they didn't re-lubricate it, and it's just running a little bit dry, or number two, it just didn't have enough lubrication or need a little bit more break-in time. It's just what's happening is the trigger bar and the connector is getting a little bit of a score, I think. And two, if you don't want to mess with it, just send it back to PSA. They'll get you fixed up on a new trigger assembly. But really, a polish job and some new lubrication would fix that guy right up. So that's just something I've seen out there. I've seen a couple videos. There's those micro. Have you kept up with PSA's little G43 clone?
Yeah,
Finally,
I like it a lot actually.
Oh man, I was fortunate enough to get one of the earliest ones, and the dagger's nice. It's a good platform, but everything that they learned from it, they put it in the micro dagger. You've got built-in rails. They're not inserts that'll remove. They're molded in rails. You've got the choice of running their specific slide release, which is based on a Generation 3, or you can run the G43 style slide release. Gives you option there. They made it for both. You've got the rail for a light up front, like the MOS edition. Like it's a really, really good setup. And then of course their magazines, which seem to be pretty reliable. They seem to be more reliable than the Shield magazines. So I'm excited about them.
They can't keep them in stock. There have been so many people who have tried and tried and tried, and people get so pissed off because people are buying a bunch of them at a time.
Well, as somebody who is a manufacturer, trying to keep things in stock when it's a hot ticket item, you can jump through every hoop there is, and no matter how many you have, it seems like you're not going to please everybody. You're going to run out.
There have been times where I've manufactured comps. Like we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comps.
Yeah.
And every time, while we've grown and grown and grown, every time we're doubling, tripling, quadrupling, 10 times, whatever you try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time that we put comps out, one time in particular, I left and had added the comps to inventory through my phone, through the website on my phone. I added all the comps to inventory. By the time I got home, which was about an hour, they were gone. I spent weeks updating, like working on getting them in, doubling my inventory, making sure I had it all, back stock, all that stuff, trying to do projections. You just can't project how much people want something when it's hot.
And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because for a moment there you think, okay, I got some stuff in stock. It'll at least give me a little bit of a leeway. And then you see it sell and you're like, man, that's really cool. They're all sold. And then it's like, oh crap, now I gotta do it all over again. It's such a you get, there's such high points, and then there's the other side of it where you're like, oh, now I've got to do all this over again. And and it's just it's such an up and down sort of thing. Not to mention just packaging and shipping all that stuff. You know, I think about that because I ship out almost every day during the week.
Yep.
And that's
Same here.
a part of what I do. And that takes some time between throwing stickers in there, make sure I got all the packing material, making sure that I kept up with supply on the flat rate boxes, tape. Go through so much tape.
I just bought a shit ton of tape. I don't know where it's at, but I was just same thing.
Well, you're probably out. Actually, you may want to reorder. Trust me, it's one of those things. Where didn't I just buy some tape? Didn't I just buy labels?
I use 2 rolls as a little cup holder on my desk just to make sure that I don't ever run out, because I know that if the pens are sitting on the desk, I need to order more.
There you go. And that's the thing. That's another, like, just maintaining supply of all the extra stuff. Like every Monday, I look at what I've got and what do I need to order. That's why I'll hit you up sometimes to, for what I need. And it's like Tuesday hits and I've realized that there's something else that I didn't order that now I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man, brother. I've been there so many times.
And then you look at trying to expand your inventory or what you offer on, because you're a small setup just like me, where it's basically, you're the main guy. You got your backup guys and family, and you try to offer more things. There's so much more to go out of stock and so much more to watch and keep up with inventory. It gets crazy. It really does. And it can be really hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when luckily we use McMaster Carr for a lot of screws and stuff, the little insert stuff that we put in for installation kits. And luckily McMaster Carr is based out of Ohio, which is really close to us here in Michigan. And when I order McMaster Carr stuff, it comes next day, regular shipping. Okay. So that stuff is great, because I would rather pay more and have it available right then, because I know I'm going to screw up and not remember shit. And so I would rather pay more and have it there, than especially going other places, sometimes overseas. People buy cheaper stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, I know for like my set screws, because I order them by like 1,000 or so, and they last a pretty long time. But it normally takes, because I usually order them like, and they come from overseas. Like yeah. I go through a decent amount of those, but they normally last me about half a year or so, or they're rolling around on the floor somewhere. But it takes a little while to get them. But I will pay, like, if there's something I need a hot shot for, man, I'll pay extra for it just to get it there and get things finished. I mean, you've seen when we've checked like stock for like trigger bars, connectors. I've got a couple, like I've hot shotted stuff through like eBay just to, I might pay $30 for a connector that I normally pay half that price for. Just to get it here because somebody's out of stock. And you've seen the volatility of Glock parts, just like the factory Glock parts. I mean, you've seen it. It's like, I need this, but nobody's got it.
Yeah, I mean, with the prolification, I guess, of the daggers and the shadows and all of those other ones, there's just so much need and desire for all of that stuff now, especially the daggers. There's a lot of people who buy those and they're not happy with them right out of the box, and they know the market is out there for them to basically replace anything that they don't like, and so they use it as a canvas instead of an out of the box pistol. Yeah,
it's a lower assembly. It's kind of like an AR. The Glock is like an AR-15 of the pistol world.
It is,
especially at this point where you have so many lower receivers that take Glock parts.
Exactly.
The other thing that I think we're still seeing, because the production is still not what it was before COVID.
Oh yeah.
2019, yeah, there were a couple times I would not be able to get what I needed trigger bar wise or um, trigger block housing, but not to the same extent that I see now. It's just
Yeah.
crazy how the inventory on that stuff is just almost impossible to find.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to manufacturing facilities are dwindling or at least decreasing, and then demand really ever since COVID has just went absolutely through the roof, especially for Glock stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're just all over the place, and it seems like we're coming into an election year, and election years are always kind of wild. So then
Oh
there's
yeah.
going to be more outages and out of stocks and stuff like that. So
Mm.
that's definitely a problem.
Speaking of election year, because you've been in this business long enough to see the crazy like ups and downs depending on what polls say. Um, are you ready for this election year? Because from just a manufacturing and selling gun part standpoint, I think it's gonna be a crazy one. I don't.
No doubt. I mean,
I,
right now we're in the process right now where we've added 2 more machines. We're trying to get more machines in house as soon as possible, just because it's a good time for us to be able to get that done. And I I still don't know if we're going to be able to keep up. I don't know. We're
I,
trying hard to, like, we closed down for about a month in
mhm,
November,
I
just
remember.
yeah, and decided that we were just going to take a break. And during that time, had a little bit of clarity of mind to be able to start worrying about efficiency.
I'm
How do
jealous,
we
by
do
the way.
things? Yeah, well, I mean, it just got to the point where we were growing so fast, and it would be like, oh well, that box came in of this stuff, or this came in that stuff, and just chuck it over there and put it over
Mhm.
here, and just find a spot for it now, and do this, that, and the other. And we were
Yeah.
just there was just stuff everywhere. Nobody, it was like, oh well, I'm looking for this. I had it just a little bit ago. Oh, it got covered by a box or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh yeah.
it was crazy. And we were just trying to float the boat, and just said, all right, well, you know what? This isn't fair to us. It's not fair to the
Mhm.
customers. Let's take some time and get it right.
Yeah. No, and you have to do that. With the amount of stress and craziness you went through in 2023, I remember we were talking behind the scenes about that, and I was like, "Do it. You really need to." I could tell because I've known you long enough how where you were at stress wise.
Mm.
I was like, you need to do that, and I think if anything, that is going to set you up for success here in 2024. You're getting things back up running, and the demand is there.
Yeah.
You've got the start of a name. When I say the start, because there are a lot of people that know disruptive defense is the compensator and optic plate people to go with,
Mhm.
but it's just going to grow from there. And
Yeah.
you've got the start. And there's a lot of work still behind that. It's just like
Yeah.
Tactical Pontoon. Yeah, the name's starting to get out there. There are a lot of people that come to me, but it's only going to grow from there if you set it up right. And I think that's where you're at here in 2024. I
Yeah.
really believe it.
It's all about the foundation. For me, I feel like you got to have the foundation right before you can build on it. And people will know from talking to me through customer service and stuff like that. I always try and do the right thing, and I'm not
Mhm.
worried about the bottom line. I'm not worried about I'm worried about doing the right thing, and the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And
Yeah.
so when it comes to growing, and we always have tried to do it organically. And for new parts and stuff, we try and go through the work up front to
Mhm.
do multiple iterations. We're talking about triggers. I've went back and forth with numerous triggers for everything we've ever made, and I've probably done 60 iterations of those triggers, before they even hit the market, before anybody even knows that they exist. I'm trying to make it as best as I can from day one, so that people know that we put in all the work ahead of time, so that we don't use our customers for beta testing.
Yeah. You're not Tesla.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have a lot against Tesla, to be completely honest. Never drive one. I drove one. It was like a big golf cart. But they beta test a lot of their stuff through their customers, self-driving and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which I don't foresee self-driving becoming much of a thing. It's one of those hot button things that hits for a couple of years and then it dies away. EVs will be somewhat similar. You had hybrids. It's a hot button item.
I'm old enough to remember the solar cars. Like, they were trying to do solar cars in the early 90s, where they were in these weird, crazy looking teardrop body
Saturn,
shape.
the original Saturn. Yeah,
exactly.
Original
all of
Saturn.
those.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of things come and go, even in the gun world. Oh my goodness. I've been doing this, I look back, it's been a fairly decent amount of time, but not as long as you. I was still brand new when we first met. And you had been, you were still doing the Cerakote. I mean, your best Cerakote days, when I say that, I mean, just like that's what you were doing mainstream was back when we first met, and you were the Cerakote guy. You're still the Cerakote guy. Don't get me wrong. People coming at, I'm sure they ask you questions like, Shane, may he come back soon. You gave him so many, yes, Shane, come back soon. The things that I've seen come and go. P80s. I'll talk about that real quick. I know, the legal things and whatnot, but even should everything hit again where you can buy them, the P80 market, it saw its day. It was massive when I first started, and it just has dwindled. The dagger, I see as the new P80 market. When I see the type of like sales growth and the amount of them that are out there, as popular as they are, that's the new P80, the dagger. Even though it's not 80%, but the growth. Glock is still strong. You got SIG. I thought P10 would actually make a bigger splash than it has. And then you got SIG winning the military contracts. I know neither of us really build anything for the SIG, but at this point in time, they kind of build everything in house, really. I'll tell you, it's almost like there's a new SIG 365 model every week.
Yeah, you got short frame, long slide, long frame, short slide, everything in between.
Magazine size, take one round out. We'll add another round to this one. We'll port this barrel. We'll make this barrel stick out the end and have a port on it. And then this one, the barrel sticks on the inside and there's a port. The internal compensated. There are a lot of 365 models. Never fell in love with that one. Oh, Brandon. Brandon, replacement pins for the daggers should definitely be something you guys consider in the future. The reason why the dagger has roll pins, the full size or compact dagger, is because of those rails, those removable rails. Not having those roll pins actually would make it less likely to stay together. So that's why it has roll pins instead of solid pins. So changing those out. I mean, I've seen some people do some custom machining to do some oversized pins. Yeah, but really the roll pins are kind of there to stay on this version of the dagger. I'm pretty sure there's a V2 coming out before too terribly long.
They should. I mean, they've been crazy popular. They should make the adjustments and design changes that the customers want and throw it out there again.
Oh yeah. People will buy them. The buy-in price on that thing is crazy. I think you're looking at like, I think 350. I haven't priced one in a while, to be completely honest. I think it's
A
like 350.
buddy of mine just bought a full one, but on Black Friday they were doing, it was 250 because it was 99 for the frame, for the complete frame, and then 150 for a complete slide with the RMR cut.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about that price. Like, I remember P80s when the market started really going bottom cheap, like in 2020, where you could almost put together a P80 for like, it was 300. So to be able to get a full dagger that you don't have to drill and has customer support that cares about you, versus P80, where especially in the last few years has been non-existent, is just crazy. But yes, Brandon Price there. From what I'm told and what I've heard, and this is not, this isn't set in stone, but they are going to do a version 2 that has solid pins. So when that comes out, I can't say for sure. They've got a lot of things in the fire. SHOT Show's coming up. I don't know for sure if they're going to have that at SHOT Show, but I've been told PSA is going to have quite a booth at SHOT Show. So
they just do everything. Palmetto's like the Walmart of guns.
They kind of are. I gotta say, they give them crap where you will for some of their stuff, but at the end of the day, they have definitely opened up a market for people to, get their first taste of an AR, or now their first taste of a Glock. And hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, more hands on firearms is a good thing at any time.
Oh yeah. Just, I mean, they don't have to go buy some Saturday night special or a high point. You can go buy a dagger.
Yeah, or a Sky.
Or
a Kel-Tec.
A Sky.
Oh
my goodness. Yeah.
I had one, but okay, so I had one
Mhm.
years and years ago, but I bought it because it used to be spelled the same way as the vodka.
Okay.
And then so it was the SKYY, and I thought that was cool. I'm like, oh, they're totally gonna get sued for this shit, so I'm gonna buy one.
Yeah.
That thing was a big piece of trash.
Yeah, those Sky pistols are just a boy, they're a joke. Even Kel-Tec. Kel-Tec's got some neat designs, but they can never seem to get them to work right on a large scale.
Yeah, I'm all for Kel-Tec's one of those companies that I feel like they push the envelope, and I think they do a lot of R&D for other companies by doing so. Someone is going to take an idea or take something that might get mild attention from Kel-Tec and then kind of rewrap it or repackage it into something that they're doing. And in that way, I like them for that.
Yeah, they really do. From their the KSG neat shotgun design with the twin tubes. I have the single tube version. It's the bullpup shotgun. It does not feed worth a crap. It's a neat design, but it doesn't feed, and it feeds high brass pretty well. Anything else, anything cheap, it doesn't feed. It's a neat looking gun. They got their 22 Magnum pistol. They've got their own bullpup 5.56, but like you said, it's R&D for everybody else. They can see what failed on Kel-Tec's design and fix it up, because
that PMR 30. So I shot the PMR 30 years ago when it first came out, because a friend of mine picked one up who owned a gun store, and we shot it. And I'm telling you, people need to adopt the 22 Magnum more often. It's a hell of a good round, and I wish that it got more attention.
Well, it really should have. It seems like the 5.7 got all of the media hype just because it was used for, presidential duty and that sort of thing. But the 22 Magnum is I would say in many cases just as effective, and I'm sure people will get upset with that one, but just as effective for just about anything that a normal person per se would use a 5.7 for.
Yeah. Well, and 5.7 is like the flavor of the day. So everything 5.7 other than the Ruger is really expensive, and it's hard to get into that space.
PSA's got one.
Oh, they do now. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Like I said, they do everything.
I'm honestly surprised that the 5.7 has taken off to the point that it has. I mean, when Ruger built one, I'm like, okay, there it is. Nobody else is going to do this. And then PSA brought out their Rock 5.7. I think Smith & Wesson, I feel like Smith & Wesson has a 5.7.
Yeah, maybe.
Performance Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven here says they're happy with their AAC ammo. I've heard good things about PSA's ammo. I haven't messed with any myself, but I've heard good things about it. So yeah, AAC ammo. One thing I will say, I'll go back to this when it comes to PSA versus some of your other budget, I guess is kind of where I'm going to go with that, is their customer service. Is their customer service. While they may have some issues here and there with manufacturing, just because of really the scale that they bring things out in, their customer service, like they're on it. I mean, I've never seen a company so plugged in to the social media, like just dealing with people face to face on, or through the screen on social media to take care of issues. Never seen that. Like that's the type of stuff that you and I as small business owners do.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see
Matt and I think it's Dan. Those guys. So yeah, those two guys, they're in like tons of the groups
24/7.
Yeah, and like they are everywhere at once. Those guys, they respond to issues like I've never even seen before. That I will absolutely give them credit for. That's what I try to do with our business as much as possible. Just because I think that there's so many things that you can tackle sooner, and it's a lot more interaction that I get with our customer base too.
Yeah, and it shows that you care enough to be out in the community, because there's a lot of times that, let's say, if all you relied on was an email through your company website, you're going to miss out that maybe they sent you an email first, but then 10 minutes later or a day later or 2 hours later, they're on social media asking, a troubleshooting question that kind of puts you in a bad light, even though you were going to get back to them on a troubleshooting email. Whereas if you're out there on social media, you can get out in front of that and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so with Disruptive Defense or Tactical Pontoon. Let me give you a hand. I didn't see your email yet. So it's kind of cool to see them being like a small company. It's really cool. I've known Matt before he was with PSA. He would ask me random trigger questions. Sometimes I would ignore him because he wasn't a customer. He wasn't a customer. He would send me random trigger questions and he would ask some weird stuff, and I was busy. I'm like, this was earlier on in the Tactical Pontoon. I'm better at it now. But he would ask me some weird questions, and I'd give him answers and sort of thing, and he would ask me more questions, and I would give him some answers. And other days I'd let him sit. But then he became, and even before when I joined the Dagger groups, because all my stuff was more expensive back then. It was all excommunicado, my competition system. Then I joined the Dagger groups, and that's when I really started talking to Matt before he was even with PSA. It inspired me to do the drop-in systems. Because like I said, before that, it was all excommunicado, my competition system, my really high-end custom stuff.
Yep.
Where I said, you know what? Let me leverage what I know works and build a drop-in system that works really, really well and can still compete with generic stuff, generic brand A, brand O, brand don't send me a cease and desist. Yeah. You see how cheap those things are now?
Oh, God. They could give it to me for free and it still wouldn't be worth it.
No, you're right. They're so hit or miss. That's the thing. When they work, people love them. But there's a lot of times, and I see. Yes, I'm going to see more of the ones that don't work because that's when people ask for troubleshooting. That don't. It's very hit or miss. Some frames, and just like when I first got one, I had a lot of frames that it wouldn't work with. So I was like, I'm not putting my name on this thing. Yeah, they've updated it some, but I've also seen where even when they've updated it, some of their QC is still not there. They're still running into issues. It's not one I'm putting my name on.
Yeah.
I know somebody else who does, but it's not for me. I guess there's a 43 version that is coming out that's not in my carry.
Yeah. Nope.
Not in my carry. I'll stick with what actually works.
Yeah. For sure.
Somebody brought up Dave at Desert Tactical brought up the 17 HMR. That's a neat round. I don't know if you've ever shot a little rifle. I shot a little rifle with one of those. That's neat. Another one that's kind of like that is the 22 TCM9R, which is the really
Rock Island one.
Yes, I bought one of those conversion kits years back. That's a neat one. You talk about that thing throws a fireball out of a Glock 17. You will get some people looking at you because honestly, I've heard various different things of it's better than the 5.7. It's worse than the 5.7. When it comes to a round like that, I really see those as more fun rounds than anything else. You might get some armor penetrating type, results from it, but at the end of the day, it's very, very limited case. Yeah. No recoil though. I haven't shot a 5.7, but I can say with that 22 TCM, no recoil. Like it all bark. No real recoil.
Nice.
So it's fun. We're almost at an hour. We'll jump off here soon. But the one last thing that I did want to bring up is, has anybody ever heard of Paul Harrell on YouTube?
I have not.
Okay, Paul Harrell he's an older guy. He's got almost 1 million. I think it's 800,000 subscribers. He's been around a long time. He does a lot of really in-depth on ballistics and that sort of thing. But the reason I bring him up is if you guys have ever watched him, it looks like he's headed off of YouTube. I guess he's had some health issues. I think it might be cancer, as I recall. Yeah, he's been around a long time. Really dry, but he's got really dry humor. He's an interesting guy to watch. I just wanted to bring him up. If you guys haven't watched any of his stuff, you need to. He does some really cool, like I said, ballistic stuff. I haven't, just because I'm around guns all the time and working on them. I don't watch as much gun-related YouTube as I used to, but really good videos. Check him out. He's handing it over to his brother, and hopefully the channel continues. And it was just something I wanted to bring up. So if you hadn't heard about him, go check him out now. Paul Harrell, Harrell. So
that I will definitely do, and hopefully whatever he's going through, he gets through it. And but I'll check him out for sure.
Yeah, check him out. If anybody else hasn't seen him, check him out. I hate to see it. I really do, because his videos aren't big production videos, but they're really they've got a lot of information.
Content, I always found them heavy.
Yes, very much worth it. So
yeah.
All right. That's pretty much all I got for today. I don't know, Brandon. I think I had a good time. I don't know about you.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I just needed. I look. You look so beautiful with your wonderful camera, and
got
I
some
look
nice.
like I'm. I have a step 2, kids camera facing me. I'll have to get that figured out. But
We'll definitely have to get you upgraded. Get you some earphone or headphones so
yeah.
that I don't get any feedback. We got a little bit in the background, but
Oh shoot! Sorry.
Oh, it's cool.
Taking a microphone.
You do have a microphone. So, I mean, that's better than my original YouTube videos. If you go back to some of my old stuff, it is really bad. They were all like 30 minutes long, and it was to the camera on my laptop. I would always have issues with Zoom. Like it wouldn't catch what I was trying to show. And I would take them in one take. I wouldn't do any editing. So if I messed up, I would redo it. I would be 30 minutes in and mess up and I'd have to redo it because I didn't want to have to edit. If you go back and see some of my old stuff, oh my goodness, this was back before I was doing triggers. I was still just learning a lot of things.
Were you doing mechanic type stuff, car stuff?
No, it was gun stuff. I would look at different triggers. I would look at different, it was when I was doing a lot of my research before Tactical Pontoon really came out. Like I had the name Tactical Pontoon. I was looking at different triggers with Apex. It was when I was learning all the stuff really was the same. Everybody's triggers were all basically the same stuff, just with their shoe on it. And shoe design is something, but it's not everything. So early Tactical Pontoon stuff. And I have a couple videos where I asserted certain things about trigger actions that are completely wrong. They're back there. They're 5 years old or so. You can see them. I left them up because why not? Why not? You know? See how I've grown. I've gotten some nice sheen on myself. I've got a lot more gray now. And
mine's coming.
I'll tell you, that gray, once it hit, it was over.
Mine's in there somewhere. I have it more here than I have it right here, but it's coming for sure.
Well, I would have more up here if more up here would grow. So I get to shave less and less as each year goes by. And I'm glad I didn't, I actually started shaving my head when I was like 18. So I'm used to being bald. So if I had kept my hair into like my late 20s and 30s and it really started thinning, I would have freaked out. Just for the change. So fortunately, I kind of prepared myself early.
There you go.
So I guess we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, man. I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, then let's say goodbye to everybody, and we'll do this again next week. I'm going to spend some time, maybe. I say that, but I really need to spend some time to figure out how to put like pictures and shit on here on StreamYard, so that like if we've got something, I've been meaning to do this, like, hey, let's talk about so and so, this part, we can like actually bring it up on screen. But I haven't done it because I kind of suck.
Yeah, that's okay. There's always 2025.
There's always 2025. We can hope for it in 2024. It'll probably be 2025. So, all right. I'll catch you later, Brandon. We'll do this again. And everybody, be good. Shoot some stuff, but mainly targets. I don't know. All right. I'm gonna hit the end stream because I've run out of steam.
All right. See you guys.
Later.